Yeah, I think we're good, Emily.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Today I'll be presenting on exploring the skills of adults in your state and county. I'm Emily Pulaski. I am a research associate at American Institutes for Research. So there I do a lot of work for the statistical branch of the Federal Department of Education, and in particular related to the program for the International Assessment of Adult Competencies. So just an outline of what I'll be going over today. I'll be talking about what is PEAC, some major findings from PEAC, discussing the PEAC skills map, looking at the skills of adults in Arkansas, discussing how the PEAC skills map can be used to inform your work, and going over where you can find the skills map and other information, and then some other new updates with PEAC and the skills map. So first, what is PEAC? I was just wondering if you guys have heard of PEAC before. You guys can raise your hand or put in the chat if you guys have heard of PEAC before. Okay, great. So it seems like it's a mix. Some people have, some haven't. So, I mean, I'm sure even those who have heard of PEAC before will go over some new information today. So PEAC is the Program for the International Assessment of Adult Competencies. So this is a cyclical large-scale assessment, and it was administered for the first time in 2011 to 2012 in 24 countries, including the United States. So this was developed internationally by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD. And as I mentioned with my work previously, so the group that coordinates this in the US is the National Center for Education Statistics. So PEAC works on assessing and comparing the basic cognitive and workplace skills needed for participation in the 21st century society and global economy. So we really try, with the different measures in PEAC, we really try to get at the different skills and competencies that are key to success in today's world, both in the workforce and in everyday life. So within each country, it's administered to a nationally representative sample of 16 to 65-year-old adults. And this includes people who are residing in each country. So regardless of their nationality, whether they're a citizen, whether they speak the primary language of the country, and so on. So this is about going over the national data collections for PEAC that have happened so far. So as I mentioned, the first data collection was in 2011 to 2012. And for this data collection, which we refer to as round one, there was a sample of adults, so adults based in households of 5,010 adults ages 16 to 65. And then the US collected additional data in a supplemental sample, which we call round two. And this included 3,660 adults. And it focused on different subgroups that were not a focus in the first round. So we included older adults, 66 to 74. We also oversampled unemployed and younger adults so we can have more information on their skills and abilities. And then in the latest data collection in 2017, which we call round three in the US, we also sampled 3,660 adults ages 16 to 74. And as you can as is kind of noted on the slide here, so the first two rounds of data collection are combined for one data point, and that data point can be compared to the data we collected in 2017. And then internationally, there were also other countries collecting data at these different time points. And in total, there were 38 countries, including the US, that collected data within this first cycle of PIAC. So the main aspects of the PIAC assessment and survey, there's a background questionnaire, and it focuses on aspects such as the demographics of the respondent, their educational background, like what's their highest education, did they ever drop out, what is their degree in, and so on. There's also a lot of questions on employment. So how much they've worked in the past year, what industry and occupation they're in, what kind of skills they use in their work, and so on. And then there's also questions kind of related to family background and what kind of skills they use in their everyday life. It's quite a broad range of different topics that are covered there. And then in addition to that, there's a direct assessment of their skills. So after the interviewer asks the background questionnaire and administers the survey questions, the respondent completes an assessment of their skills. So there are two primary modes of PIAC. So it's either administered on a laptop computer or paper and pencil. And this depends on the respondent's comfort with computer, their background of whether they've used a computer before, and whether they can pass a basic skills test of like clicking and scrolling things that basically show they know how to use a computer. And if they are not able to do that, then there's a paper and pencil version. So as I already mentioned, there's a background questionnaire. This takes around 45 minutes, and this can be conducted in either English or Spanish, depending on the respondent's preference. Then after that background questionnaire, there's the assessment items are administered, and this is around 60 minutes, but this is conducted only in English. And there are the three main domains that are assessed. There's literacy and numeracy, and both literacy and numeracy are included on both the laptop or paper and pencil version of the assessment, while digital problem solving is only administered on the laptop computer version of the assessment. So more specifically, looking at the definitions of these domains, literacy is understanding, evaluating, using and engaging with written text to participate in society, to achieve one's goals, and to develop one's knowledge and potential. Numeracy is the ability to access, use, interpret, and communicate mathematical information and ideas in order to engage in and manage the mathematical demands of a range of situations in adult life. And digital problem solving involves using digital technology, communication tools, and networks to acquire and evaluate information, communicate with others, and perform practical tasks. So as you can kind of see in these definitions, these really is a focus on skills that people use in their everyday life, that they need in their work, in their personal lives, to interact in the community, and so on. So the results from the PIAC assessment for the literacy, numeracy, and digital problem solving domains, they can be reported as average scores. And this is on a scale of 0 to 500 for all three domains. And then looking at the proficiency levels, this is a percentage of adults scoring at 6 performance levels. So from below level 1 to level 5 in literacy and numeracy, and at 4 performance levels in problem solving and technology-rich environments. So this is from below level 1 to level 3.
Hey, Emily.
Yes.
There was a question asked in the chat. What was the sample size from Arkansas specifically?
So I think I will go into more detail on this later about how the samples for each state work. I mean, but to give a brief answer, it's well, I'll actually cover that more later on. I think I'll answer that later on in the presentation.
Okay, good.
And then, so if you want to look in more detail for some of these descriptions of the levels, you can check out the PIAC NCS website there. So just to go over the broad definitions of the levels that you will see in the skills map. For literacy, there's those below level 1 or at level 1, and these are adults that range from functionally illiterate to those who have difficulty using or comprehending basic written material. So those are the lowest skilled adults. And then the adults at level 2, those are more mid-skilled adults. So these adults, they're nearing proficiency, but they may still have some struggles performing literacy-related tasks and tasks using text-based information. And then finally, the higher skilled adults, those at level 3 or above, the adults at these levels are pretty proficient with working with information and ideas in text. So now just to go over some examples of literacy items that are similar to what one may see on the PIAC assessment. This is a results for a job search. So this is the test takers presented with these results from a simulated website for job hunting. Then they're asked to identify a job that meets specific criteria. So which company is looking for an employee to work at night. So then the respondent would need to read the job descriptions and find the information that's found explicitly stated in the description for that particular job listing. And around 95% of US adults can perform at level 1 or better. So this next example is of a level 2 item. So this is a little bit more difficult than that item you just saw. So here the test takers presented with a newspaper article on generic medicine. They're asked to identify 2 reasons for the limited use of generic medicines. So within the article, then they need to identify the 2 explicit reasons that are listed within the article. And they have to try to not be distracted by statements that are related to other information about generic medicines, but that aren't specifically related to the question. And around 82% of US adults can perform at level 2 or better. So now going to numeracy, these are kind of similar to how the levels are for literacy. So you'll have the lowest skilled adults in numeracy, so those at level 1 or below. And these people have a range from functionally illiterate, so those would be those at like the lower end of these levels. And then there's those who may be closer to higher level 1, the higher end of level 1, and these people may still have some difficulty using and comprehending numeric information. So then at level 2, these are the more middle skilled adults, and these adults are nearing proficiency, but they may still have some struggles when they're working with some numeric information. And then at level 3 or above, those are the highest skilled adults. And these adults can work proficiently with mathematical ideas and information. So now going over some examples of numeracy items. This is a level 2 item asking how many gallons remain in the gas tank, and they're presented with the gas gauge and the test taker, and that indicates that it's about 3/4 full, so that's what the test taker will see. And then they are told that the car holds 24 gallons of gas, and then they're asked to calculate the fraction based on that and what the graphic they're seeing of the gas gauge. And so then they would need to estimate that 3/4 of 24 gallons means 18 gallons remain in the tank. And around 61% of US adults can perform at level 2 or better. So next item is a level 3 item in numeracy. So here the test taker is presented with information about a shoe sale, and they're asked to calculate the total amount one would need to pay for both shoes during the sale. And they would need to calculate and enter the correct dollar amount for the 2 pairs of shoes on sale. And you'll see here a smaller percentage of US adults perform at this level, so 39% are at level 3 or better. All right, so now one last thing before we go into the more state-specific results in the skills map. I'm going to go over some major findings from PIAAC at the national and international level. So here, looking at the trends within the US specifically between the 2012-14 time point and the 2017 time point for those adults 16 to 65. So there's really no change in any of the three domains: literacy, numeracy, and digital problem solving. So no improvement in skills, but no decline in skills. It stayed consistent between those two time points. And then looking at some results for specific subgroups between the two time points. So compared to 2012-2014, the Hispanic adults scores improved in both literacy and digital problem solving, while the average scores for white adults did not change across any of the three skills domains. Similar pattern can be seen when you're looking at non-native adults versus native-born adults. Non-native-born adults in the US scored higher in both literacy and digital problem solving in 2017 compared to the previous time point in 2012-14. While when you look at when you look at native-born adults, there was no change in their skills. And then when you look at the data related to education in these two time points, there was an increase in the average amount of schooling. So there's more people completing high school or college, but there was a decrease in the average literacy and numeracy scores of those with only a high school education. So even though more people are completing high school, those or completing above high school, those with only a high school education, their skills in literacy and numeracy were decreasing. So looking at how the US is doing compared to other countries, we're performing best in literacy comparatively. So you can see that the US adults scored higher in literacy than the PIAAC international average. So you'll see the US scored 272 in literacy and the international average was 267. And then, well, when you look at numeracy, we're performing below the international average. So the international average there, you can see the line going across is 263. And the United States is performing at 257. And then similarly for digital problem solving, we're below the international average in that domain. And you can see compared to some higher performing countries like Japan and Finland, we're performing well below them in all of those domains. So we do have some more specific results that are located on the NCS PIAAC website. So we have the full web report of more detailed 2017 national results and international comparisons. And then on our website that the AIR PIAAC team manages at the piaacgateway.com, we have resources such as the toolkit modules, and this includes several ready-made presentations on specific subjects such as an overview of the results, low-skilled workers, health status, the impact of parental education, comparing the skills of parents and non-parents. The US also conducted a study of the skills of adults in prison. So there's some results there, as well as on the NCS PIAAC website, and more sample PIAAC tasks. Before I move on to some specific things on the skills map and the state level results, I just want to check if there's any questions on PIAAC in general, on what you've seen so far.
Emily, there was a comment in the chat in regards to receiving the links.
Sure, I think.
And if you could.
Yeah, I can put those in the chat towards the end.
Okay, great.
All right, So now I guess looking at the PIAC skills map. So this this is a new tool from NCS, and it provides comprehensive data on the literacy and numeracy skills of adults 16 to 74 in all 50 states, in the District of Columbia, and for all 3,141 counties in the US. So these are pretty comprehensive information on all the states and counties of their indicators of adult literacy and numeracy. So you may be wondering, where do these skills map data come from? As you probably, when I was discussing the skills map, the data from PIAC, you probably saw the sample size and may wonder, is that enough to provide information at the state and county level? So I saw, we know, and we had that question on the sample size within Arkansas. So the first answer is, like, we did not actually go and collect samples in every single state or in every single county. So we use advanced statistical methodology called small area estimation to produce estimates for geographic areas, where these direct data collections, the survey data we directly collected was not enough to kind of create estimates at at each of those levels. So this small area estimation is used for across a lot of different agencies and for like within the American Community Survey and so on. So it's a pretty well developed methodology, and it really allows you to provide estimates for these smaller geographic areas, where you do not have enough direct sample within each of those areas to create reliable estimates. So to create these estimates, we use all of those combined PIAC data from those 3 rounds of data collection in the US that I described. So 2012, 2014, and 2017, along with data from the American Community Survey. Because the PIAC data was collected over a period of years, we used the 5-year estimates from the American Community Survey, from 2013 to 2017. So looking at what information is available in the PIAC skills map. So there's literacy and numeracy proficiency data. So those the literacy and numeracy domains that I described, with the average score data, as well as the percentages of adults at the lowest, medium, and highest levels for both counties and states. So those are the proficiency levels I also went over earlier for literacy and numeracy for the low, mid, and high skilled adults. So in addition to that skills data, we supplement that with demographic data from the American Community Survey. So these are a variety of demographic variables, including gender, race, ethnicity, education, English speaking ability, foreign-born population, poverty, employment status, occupation, and health. So these just are there to help provide context to the skills results you will see. So now looking at what are the skills of adults in Arkansas. So Arkansas is similar to the national average in literacy and below the national average in numeracy. So what is your guys' reaction to that? Is that what you expected, or did you expect to see something different? But yeah, so as you can see here, so the Arkansas average score was 259 compared to 264. Yeah, I see someone said that they thought it may actually be lower. The math is what you expected. Great. Yeah, so I think as you can see in these results, so the literacy average score is not significantly different, while the numeracy is below the national average. So now looking at the proficiency levels, Arkansas has a higher percentage of low-skilled adults in numeracy, but a similar percentage of low-skilled adults in literacy. Looking at the middle-skilled adults, Arkansas has a higher percentage of middle-skilled adults in literacy, but a similar percentage in numeracy. And then for both literacy and numeracy, there's a lower percentage of high-skilled adults compared to the national averages. So you can see here, I guess the numeracy is in Arkansas compared to the nation is lower, whereas the literacy skills are more mixed. So now looking at some of the highest performing counties in Arkansas, there's, and the counties are the highest performing counties are the same for both literacy and numeracy. So there's Faulkner, Saline, Lonoke, Benton, and Baxter counties are the highest performing counties in Arkansas for both literacy and numeracy. And then for the lowest performing counties, the list is St. Francis, Chico, Dacia, Monroe, Lincoln, and Lee. So now I'm going to show the actual skills map and walk through results for a county. But first, we'll check if you guys had any other questions yet on the skills map. Okay, so this is what you'll see when you go to the PIAC skills map website. It's on the NCS webpage. You'll find it if I have the URL there, but you'll also find it if you Google for PIAC skills map or adult skills map, something like that, it will show up. So when you first enter to the skills map, you'll see the welcome page, and it will kind of give you an overview of the data you'll find there. Then you can click to explore the map. So the first thing you'll see is kind of the overall map for the country at the county level, and it defaults to looking at literacy at or below level 1. But you can also switch your view to the numeracy scores. You can look at the state level. You can look at different proficiency levels. So at level 2, at or above level 3, or looking at the average scale scores. But I'll go back to what you'll see when you first enter the skills map. So this is the distribution of those at or below level 1. You'll see this little key at the bottom here, that the light shade is lower percentages of low skilled adults, and the darker shading is higher percentages of low skilled adults. So for example, you'll see some of these counties in Texas, they're darker shaded, and that means they have a higher percentage of low skilled adults. And then some of these counties in northern New England that are lighter shaded, they'll have a lower percentage of low skilled adults. So if I want to find a specific county, you can either kind of scroll over your county if you know exactly where it's located, and you'll see a little pop-up of information, but you can also search. So if I want to find Pulaski County, Arkansas, if I click on that, it will take me to there. And you can again scroll over and see the highlight of the findings for your specific indicator you're looking at now. but you can also, when you click on it, you'll have a summary card for that specific county show up. I'll let it load for a second. So here you'll see the comparison with the average scale score for Arkansas. The literacy is the same as the state average. And numeracy is also the same as the state average. And then you can kind of go into more details in the results section on the proficiency levels. You'll see those for each county. So you'll see, for example, the percentage below level 1 is 21% for this county. You can also, there's an option to toggle for the state data in here. So then you can kind of see how that specific county compares to the state. And you'll see there's the literacy results, the average for proficiency and average scale scores. And then you'll see the numeracy results and the average scale scores there. And then if you're like, for example, if you want to know whether this 33% at level 2 compared to the 38% at level 2 at the state, if you want to know whether those numbers are statistically different, you can go to this analysis of results section. So there's this describes each of the results for literacy and numeracy. So if you can look at the third bullet point, is percentage at level 2 is statistically lower for Pulaski County compared to the state of Arkansas. So those results will be there for each of the literacy and numeracy indicators. So if you want to you can also change your comparison. Sorry, there the zoom bar is in my way. Let me move this over here. Okay. So you can also add variables or compare to another county. And you can also view results for each county in Arkansas within a chart format. So if you, for example, if you click this view Arkansas county charts, you'll see a PDF come up that the comparison charts of state and county estimates. You'll see in the table of contents, it has average literacy scale scores and each proficiency level for literacy skills. And then same thing for numeracy. So here you'll see the literacy scale scores for each county in Arkansas listed. You'll see the square in the middle is the score point estimate. And then these are the confidence intervals for the estimate, are the bars associated there. And then you'll also see the same information presented in a table format. You'll scroll down, you'll see similar information for each of the proficiency levels, and then also for numeracy. So back to the skills map. When you go to, as I was mentioning about the confidence intervals, you can also see this within the county summary card. So if you scroll over an estimate, so the actual estimate is 33%, but the confidence interval that we're kind of 95% confident the estimate would fall between is 27% and 38% for the level 2 literacy for the Pulaski County. So now I will show you, I guess, a comparison between two counties. So if I can one way to do that is to, when you've already selected the count in your, if you're in a county summary card, you can click the compare to another county. And then you can first select your state and then select another county within the state. So I'll just choose Lafayette County. And then you'll see the comparison show up for between the Pulaski County and Lafayette County. So you can see the two graphic results here in the results section. So for example, the Pulaski County has 21% below level 1 in literacy, and the Lafayette County has 31% below level 1 in literacy. And then if you want to know whether those two numbers are statistically different, you can go to the analysis of results section and you'll see the percentage at or below level 1 is statistically lower in Pulaski County when compared to Lafayette County. And you can look at the same thing for each of the other literacy and numeracy measures. You can even within the graphic displays, the maps at the top, you can switch to a different county if you want to see another comparison with your initial county, and you can also switch the order of your comparison. So Pulaski County is now the second comparison county. Another thing you can do to add context to any comparisons you're conducting, as I mentioned earlier when I was introducing the skills map, there's demographic data here. So if you click this add variables here, this allows you to add some demographic variables for each county to just provide context and understand why there may or may not be any skills differences. So if I'll select, I want to look at the percent less than high school in the two counties, and the percent employed, and the percent below 100% of poverty level. So, and then if I click submit, you can now scroll to the bottom and you'll see the results for each county. So the first county has 15% less than high school. And then the second county has 10% less than high school. And you can see also the percent employed within the two counties and the percent below 100% of the poverty level. And you can also clear the variables if you want to reset that. And then, so if you exit out of that comparison card, you can also start a comparison from the main page by clicking that Compare Counties button. And I will choose Baxter County and Boone County. You select the state first and then the county within the state, and then you click submit, you'll again see something similar there. And if you want to export your results, you have there's a little share arrow there, and you can share it on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, or you can also just copy the link to share with others there. And then, so back to the main page, just a few other things to highlight. You'll see within the comparison cards and within this main page, you'll see the little info buttons that will provide additional descriptions of the different sections of the skills map. So if you're wondering what a certain term means or so on, that you can also look for more information there. And then there's another info bar on the side that gives another broader overview of the skills map. There's a download data option here. So when you download that data, it produces an Excel file that includes all of the skill literacy and numeracy data at each of the proficiency levels and the average scores. And then in addition, all of the demographic data from the American Community Survey, that would all be included in the Excel file. So at the county levels for all the counties and then for all the states. So if you want to do some additional analysis with this data here, that's a great option to use that Excel file. So I'm gonna go back to my presentation now. Unless, is there any other skill questions or anything in particular anyone wants to see within the skills map? Okay. Okay, so now back to the PowerPoint slides. Looking at how the PX skills map can be used to inform your work. So you may wonder, you could use some of the information in the skills map to answer questions such as what is the need for adult education in Arkansas? So as I kind of showed you in the skills map, you can, for each state, you can find the percentage below at or at level 1 in literacy. So you can either use the search bar or just scroll over your state of interest. And you'll see a state summary card that is very similar to the county summary cards that you saw there. And you'll see that Arkansas is the same as national average in literacy, but below national average in numeracy. And you'll see, again, the results and analysis of results. The analysis of results also includes the estimated population for the state or county that you're looking at. So here it's 2 million, around 2,150,000 for Arkansas. And then if you multiply that estimated population by the percentage at or below level 1, you'll get an estimated 495,000 low-skilled adults in literacy. And then looking at numeracy, you can multiply the estimated 36% low-skilled adults in numeracy times the 2.2 million population, and you'll get around 775,000 low-skilled adults. So that's kind of shows you the scope of that's the population that may need adult education or additional skills training within your state of Arkansas. So looking at another example, you may, with all of the remote learning going on recently, there counties in Arkansas may be looking at which counties are there going to be more low-skilled parents who need additional supports for their children's remote learning. And then you can, again, look at the percentage at or below level 1 within the counties in Arkansas. You can see, as I described with like the shading earlier, the darker shading may mean or does mean more low-skilled adults. So Lee County and Desha County are some of the darker shaded counties. So those may be ones you're interested in looking at about the need for additional supports for remote learning. And then looking at Lee County, we'll just choose to focus on that one. You can see that it has 44% of adults there have low skills in literacy, and this is a statistically higher percentage compared to the state. And then looking at numeracy, an even higher percentage, 64%, that's of adults are low skilled in numeracy. So again, this kind of shows you that there's really a large percent of adults there who may not be prepared to support their children's remote learning, and there may need to have some additional support and interventions in those counties to help those parents there. So looking at one last example, would Claiborne County, Arkansas be a good place for a community college that's based in White County, Arkansas to open a satellite campus? That's just showing the location of the two counties. So here would be another example where you could use a county comparison to look at whether there's many differences between the two counties. And so you'd select your 2 counties of interest, Claiborne and White County, Arkansas, and look at the statistical analysis of results. You'll see that there's no notable difference of the percentage at level 2. You may want to focus on the percentage at level 2 there, because that may be the target for a community college, and maybe focus more on providing education and training to those middle skilled adults. So this county may be a good location for a satellite campus for that community college. I saw I got a question in the chat about this data is gathered, whether it's gathered through private research or gathered through census data. So as I described earlier, so the PIAC, the skills map data comes from 2 sources. So it's from the PIAC data, the Program for the International Assessment of Adult Competencies. And that in the US, that is collected by the Federal Department of Education, so the National Center for Education Statistics. And then that data from PIAC is combined with the data from the American Community Survey, which is part of the census data. It's combined to create these estimates at the county and state levels, because the direct PIAC data is not enough to create direct estimates. So looking at some benefits of the skills map, and the uses that different constituents can have for it. Policymakers at the national level can use this to draft policies that are based on science and valid, reliable data. So at the state level, this can help with planning and priority setting. So you can kind of understand the priorities between different counties and decision making and allocation of resources. So you'll know if certain counties have a lot more low skilled adults, they may need additional resources for adult education and so on. And then looking at the local level, you can use this to look at your county, compare it with state estimates or other counties, kind of to understand the state of the adult population skills within your county. And this can help you to address any gaps in education and training. So if you know you have a lot of low skilled adults who may need training, or if you're particularly low skilled in numeracy, you may need additional training in that area in your county. So looking at some of benefits for state and county education organizations and businesses, the skills map provides access to these estimates at the 3 performance levels, so of the mid-skilled, low-skilled, and high-skilled adults in literacy and numeracy. And these types of estimates are not available from any other state or national studies and surveys. The skills map also provides additional variables for contextual information on the status of their labor force, educational attainment, and so on. So as I showed you with adding the demographic variables, it kind of helps you to provide any context to the skills data. And knowing the skills level within your county, it can help you to have an information source for attracting and justifying funding needs. So if you know kind of the scope and size of your low skilled population, or for example, you can kind of use that to justify funding needs. It can also be a planning tool for organizations or companies looking for employees with certain skill sets. So if there's an employer that's looking for a lot of mid or high skilled adults, they also can use the skills map to understand which counties have more of those adults. Then looking at where you can find the PIAC skills map and other information. So you can go to the NCS state and county estimates website for more information. So this includes a tutorial video, a summary of higher and lower performing states and counties, as well as FAQs. Let me just show you this quickly. So looking at this is another landing page about the state and county estimates. So here you'll see a variety of different resources, including a brochure, a release video, an additional tutorial video on how to use the skills map. So if you want to go back and if you didn't catch something in my presentation, there's another tutorial video there. And there's also a user's guide, an additional frequently asked questions about the state and county estimates. So if you have a question, you can also see if it's already answered there. So that's just another resource for information on the state and county estimates. I mentioned the PIAC Gateway earlier, but I'll also mention a few other resources we have there. So we have research to practice guides. We have a variety of infographics. We have a recording of another webinar about the skills map. And we have a sign up for our newsletter, the PIAC Buzz. And it's just the PIAC Gateway will always keep all the latest reports and any news articles or any upcoming events related to PIAC. We try to post that all there. So it's a great place to go if you're interested in keeping up with PIAC. As I mentioned, we have this PIAC newsletter called The Buzz. So if you want to sign up for that, you can go to piacgateway.com/thebuzz. And this is a newsletter that provides updates on the survey and how it's being used, including both in the US and in international news, and anything else that we're doing with PIAC, any new reports, and so on. You can keep up. That's another way to keep up with what's going on with PIAC. So just a few last updates on what's new with PIAC. We've had a few updates since it's been initially released. So there's a mobile version, and this has all the capabilities that you just saw on the website version, in case you want to use it on your cell phone or mobile or tablet or whatever. And then also, over the summer, we released a data user's guide for the PIAC smaller area estimates. So this explains reporting practices and statistical methods that are necessary when analyzing and reporting the model-based estimates in the skills map. So if you're looking into doing any more analysis with the skills map, that's a great place to go. And then we are in the process of planning and preparing for the next cycle of PIAC data collection. So the national and international cycle 2 PIAC data, it's going to be collected in 2022 to 2023, and then it will be released in 2024. Here we'll have an additional measure of numeracy components. So this is a measure of the very lowest skills in numeracy. I didn't go into it too much in my presentation today, but there's also in the cycle 1 of PIAC, there was a measure of the lowest skills in literacy. So this will complement that. Instead of digital problem solving, there's going to be a measure of adaptive problem solving. So that will not be computer specific. And then the US is adding some financial literacy related questions to our background survey. Just to wrap up, I guess I was wondering if you guys had any other questions or any other thoughts on how the PIAC US skills map can be used to inform your work. I'd be glad to answer any questions or hear your thoughts. Here, I'll put some links into the chat while I wait for any other questions.
And I'll just share, I put the link in the chat as well. So for the Survey Monkey link. So if everybody would take a look at that. And Emily, we want to thank you for contributing to our conference this year. We sure appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Uh, mm. Yeah, and you can also, if anyone wants a copy of the presentation, you can drop your email in the chat or you can email me, and I'd be happy to send that to you as well.
Looks like you're getting a lot of responses for wanting copies.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
All right, any last questions for anyone, or I think other than that, I think we're all set to wrap up.
Yeah, great. Yeah, if any of you would like a copy, you just we'll leave the chat box open here for those that
Yeah,
would like a copy, and others, if you need to jump off, feel free to do so. And we want to thank Emily once again.
yeah. I mean, I think my email is in the conference information, I think.
Oh,
So if anyone
perfect.
also
Great.
has any other questions, or can also just reach out to me to get any of this information as well.
All right, I think that's it. And thank you once again, Emily, for being a part of our conference.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.